She was once the radiant heart of Hollywood, a name synonymous with laughter, charm, and unforgettable beauty. From the sweet and innocent Toni Simmons in Cactus Flower, a role that won her an Oscar, to the confused yet endearing Judy Benjamin in Private Benjamin, or the glamorous but vulnerable Elise Elliott in The First Wives Club, Goldie Hawn captured the hearts of millions with her grace, wit, and emotional depth. But today, Goldie finds herself facing a reality few could have imagined. With a quiet and heartbreaking confession, "I can barely see anything," she revealed the painful truth. The world that once sparkled with the flashing lights of fame now seems dimmed by a silent struggle that only a few truly understand. It's a cruel irony. A woman who spent a lifetime lighting up the screen now finds herself surrounded by a personal darkness that no one could have foreseen. Before we continue, we'd love to hear from you. On a scale from 0 to 10, how would you rate Goldie Hawn as an actress? Let us know in the comments below. Your thoughts truly matter. Goldie's story began far from the bright lights of Hollywood. Born on November 21, 1945, in Tacoma Park, Maryland, she was far removed from the glitter and glam of Tinseltown. The daughter of Laura, a dance teacher, and Edward, a musician, Goldie's early years were filled with rhythm, art, and discipline. But beneath the peaceful surface of her childhood, a quiet storm was brewing, one that would shape the emotional foundation of her life in ways she couldn't have imagined. Even as a young child, Goldie wrestled with a deep, unspoken anxiety. Long before she knew the term panic attack, she felt its presence, creeping like an invisible shadow, making it hard to breathe, making the world feel suffocating. Fear of the unknown, war, and loss often consumed her thoughts. She once admitted that, as a little girl, she feared she might never even experience something as simple as a first kiss. For Goldie, the innocence of childhood was tainted by internal battles no one could see. While most children dreamed of stardom or fame, her only dream was simple: happiness. When she was just 11 years old, a question from an adult would reveal something deeper. Asked if she wanted to be on Broadway or become a star, she answered with a quiet yet firm clarity, "No, I just want to be happy." It was a response that startled those around her, offering a glimpse into the depths of her soul. Happiness wasn't a luxury for Goldie. It was a necessity, a lifeline. At school, Goldie faced challenges. She struggled with reading, often placed in the lowest group for her classwork. But these early setbacks wouldn't define her. Instead, they would fuel the perseverance and resilience that would later carry her to stardom. It was a humiliating position for a sensitive child, but it planted the first seeds of resilience. Goldie credits her second-grade teacher, Mrs. Povich, with saving her, not through grand gestures, but with gentle encouragement and an unwavering belief in her potential. That validation, simple as it seemed, made all the difference. For the first time, Goldie felt truly seen in a way that was safe. By the age of 3, she was already immersed in ballet. Dance became her sanctuary, her language. It wasn't about performing for others. It was about losing herself in the movement, in the rhythm, in the grace. Dance became the only place where the noise in her mind faded into silence. It gave her a sense of control, purpose, and flow, a place where she could simply be. That passion for dance grew into her first real ambition, to open her own dance school. Unlike most young dreamers who fantasized about red carpets or flashing cameras, Goldie envisioned wooden floors, mirrors, music, and eager students. But life, as it often does, had different plans. At 18, full of cautious hope, she moved to New York City to pursue her first dance job at the World's Fair. It should have been the start of something incredible. Instead, Goldie found herself standing alone on 10th Avenue, with no place to stay and no plan in sight. The people she was supposed to stay with had left town. She had no home, no safety net. It was her first taste of adult vulnerability, a cold reminder that life could be unpredictable and harsh. Yet, even in that moment of chaos, Goldie didn't crumble. She found a solution. She stayed with her dance teacher for a few nights, found an apartment, and carried on. It was the first real test of the quiet resilience she had forged as a child. Not long after, the doors of opportunity began to open. Small performances turned into auditions, and a new world was unfolding before her. But with success came something far less glamorous, a storm she wasn't prepared for. The more she succeeded, the more terrified she became. Panic attacks became a regular part of her life. Her body would tremble, her chest would tighten, and her thoughts would spiral into a vortex of fear. Success, which others saw as a blessing, felt to her like a trap. She didn't want fame. She didn't want to be consumed by the relentless machine of the industry. She just wanted peace. At 21, overwhelmed by fear and confusion, Goldie began seeing a psychologist. For the next 8 years, she engaged in deep, often painful self-exploration. Therapy and meditation became her tools for survival, slowly teaching her how to live with anxiety, to recognize it, breathe through it, and, most importantly, not to let it define her. It wasn't a quick fix. It was a quiet, long-lasting fight. One that she waged in private, even as the world fell in love with her bright smile and infectious laugh. Throughout it all, her mother's advice echoed in her mind: when you're up for a job, you better be ready. It's not the producers that make you a star. It's the audience. Win their hearts, and you'll earn your place. That wisdom became her guiding star. Goldie never tried to manipulate her fame. She simply let the audience decide if she was worth remembering. And they did. Looking back, it's clear, Goldie Hawn's childhood wasn't marked by the dramatic tragedies that often make headlines. Instead, it was defined by a quieter, more internal suffering, one that shaped her into the resilient and captivating woman we know today. The kind of struggle that lives in the mind. The kind that hides behind laughter. The kind that shapes a person's character without ever receiving applause. It was a quiet battlefield, and Goldie emerged from it not unscarred, but deeply human. That humanity would later become her most powerful gift on screen. Goldie Hawn never set out to be a star. In fact, she became one almost by accident. In 1969, she took on the role of Toni Simmons in Cactus Flower, a part that would forever change the course of her life. The wide-eyed, naive young woman she portrayed struck a deep emotional chord with audiences and the Academy. At just 24, Goldie won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, a surreal victory she never saw coming. She hadn't even watched the broadcast the night it aired. When she received the call, she thought it was a joke. "I wasn't even thinking about it," she later confessed. "I was just working. I had moved on." That sense of humble detachment would define her approach to fame for decades. While others chased the spotlight, Goldie often turned away from it. Even as she rose to stardom in the 70s and 80s, she approached each new project with a sense of hesitation. Not from arrogance, but from a deep desire to protect her inner peace. She didn't want to be devoured by the system. She just wanted to create something meaningful. Something that brought light, not pressure. But her talent was undeniable. Hollywood couldn't look away. She became a leading lady not just because of her beauty or humor, but because of something profoundly human in her. There was an authenticity about her that audiences couldn't resist. In Private Benjamin, 1980, she played a spoiled widow who joins the army and undergoes a transformation. The role, which earned her a second Oscar nomination, mirrored Goldie's own real-life metamorphosis. It was a portrayal of a woman learning to navigate pain with humor, to find strength in vulnerability. And audiences didn't just laugh, they saw themselves in her confusion, her struggles, her quiet victories. She went on to star in films like Overboard, Death Becomes Her, and The First Wives Club. Each character was different, but all anchored in emotional truth. Especially in The First Wives Club, her portrayal of Elise, a glamorous actress grappling with age, rejection, and heartbreak, was deeply autobiographical. Goldie knew the pain of being seen only for her looks, of being dismissed because she grew older. She poured all of that ache into Elise, transforming what could have been a caricature into a powerful commentary on womanhood in Hollywood. But perhaps her most courageous career move came when she stepped behind the camera. Goldie became a producer, not for the prestige, but for the freedom. She wanted to shape the stories she told, to uplift voices that mattered, and to create films that reflected real women, complex, flawed, and beautiful in their imperfections. Through her production company, she found agency in an industry that often tried to strip it away. It was a quiet rebellion, and it changed everything. Throughout the decades, Goldie Hawn refused to be boxed in. She didn't chase fame, she chased authenticity. And that pursuit made her more iconic than any award ever could. Through it all, Goldie Hawn has endured more than her fair share of silent battles. Her life, once filled with glittering premieres, flashing cameras, and warm ovations, has slowed into something quieter, heavier, and at times, devastatingly isolating. Her radiant smile remains, but the weight behind it is now heartbreakingly visible. In March 2025, during a moment that both shocked and deeply moved millions, Goldie Hawn stepped onto the Oscars stage alongside Andrew Garfield. As she turned to read the teleprompter, she paused. The words didn't come. Her smile faltered. Then, with a small laugh that couldn't quite mask the truth, she quietly admitted, "I'm completely blind. I am. Cataracts." That simple sentence was devastating. A harsh reminder that even the brightest stars can be swallowed by shadows. Cataracts are a common affliction among the elderly, but for someone like Goldie Hawn, a woman who once lit up the silver screen with her luminous eyes and magnetic charm, The irony was cruel. The world she had once seen so vividly now appeared through a foggy lens, and it wasn't just her eyesight that was fading. It was the rhythm, the presence, the closeness that had once defined her world. But this wasn't the first time Goldie had felt herself slowly disappearing. Long before the diagnosis, she had quietly battled the slow erosion of fame. Hollywood, as many know, is notoriously unkind to women as they age. The roles became fewer, the phone rang less often. Where once her name had been on every marquee, she now found herself watching from the sidelines. And yet, this retreat into silence didn't bring peace. Instead, it brought reflection and pain. Goldie has always been candid about her decades-long struggle with anxiety and panic attacks. From a young age, the pressure to perform, to please, to maintain an image she never asked for, became a burden too heavy to carry. At just 21, she made a bold decision to seek therapy. This wasn't a passing experiment. It was a full commitment to healing. For 8 years, she met regularly with a psychologist, peeling back the layers of fear that had quietly governed her life. Around this same period, Goldie faced a deeply personal heartbreak, her first and only divorce. In 1969, she married Gus Triconis, a dancer and aspiring director. What began as a hopeful union quickly unraveled under the weight of Hollywood's pressures and Goldie's rising fame. Though she rarely speaks of it, that marriage and its painful end in 1976 marked one of her earliest lessons in emotional survival. The quiet dissolution of their relationship left an indelible mark, deepening her understanding of loneliness, of love lost too soon, and of the emotional cost that comes with wearing a public smile. It would be many years before Goldie found lasting companionship again, but that early heartbreak lingered in the background, shaping the way she trusted, the way she loved, and the way she protected her heart moving forward. Goldie once said that anxiety didn't just affect her mind, it claimed her body. She would tremble uncontrollably, her chest would tighten, as though it might collapse under the pressure. Her thoughts would spiral into a darkness so suffocating, it felt like drowning. Alone, unheard, in a room full of air. And as her fame rose, so did the shadows. The very spotlight that gave her everything also stripped her bare. Later in life, another weight quietly settled on Goldie's shoulders, regret. But not about fame or roles lost. It was about time. Time that slipped away. Time not spent with her children. Time stolen by flights, by sets, by red carpets. I wish I could have been there more, she confessed once, her voice breaking. I missed games, I missed moments, and those are things you can't get back. Despite these regrets, she built a family filled with love. Her children, now adults, remain close, a testament to the bond they share. But even love doesn't always protect against loneliness. As friends passed, and as the world moved on, Goldie began reflecting less on her career and more on her legacy. Her work with the Mind Up Foundation became a lifeline, a project that allowed her to pour herself into something meaningful. Through neuroscience, mindfulness, and emotional education, she helped children understand their own brains and build resilience. It gave her a purpose beyond fame. Yet, even in her advocacy, she sometimes felt the ache of being unseen. I never wanted to be a star, she said. I just wanted to be happy. But happiness, in later years, has become a quiet, fragile thing. There are good days. Days filled with laughter, grandchildren, soft music, and the comfort of home. But there are also days marked by shadows of the past, of declining health, of memories that return not with warmth but with sting. Her battle with vision loss continues. Cataracts, though treatable, are just one part of the physical toll. Aging has brought fatigue, fragility, and the slow erosion of independence. Public appearances have become rarer. When she does emerge, fans comment on her glow, but few understand the immense courage it takes just to step across a stage. Inside, there's still the girl who just wanted to dance. The girl who dreamed only of opening a ballet school, who once stood alone on 10th Avenue in New York with nowhere to sleep, and figured it out anyway. That girl never truly left. She simply grew older. And perhaps the most heartbreaking truth is that the more Goldie gave the world, the more it forgot how much she carried alone. As the applause fades and the cameras dim, what remains is the essence of Goldie Hawn, a woman of extraordinary depth, relentless resilience, and a heart still searching for quiet joy. She doesn't ask for sympathy, she only asks to be remembered, not just for the light she gave, but for the darkness she survived. And that, perhaps, is her most profound performance of all. And now, here's Dan with the news of the future, North. At 80 years old, Goldie Hawn lives a life that is no longer measured in awards or premieres, but in quiet mornings, soft conversations, and the joyful chaos of grandchildren's laughter. She resides away from the glitz of Hollywood, surrounded by nature and family, holding tightly to the few things that have always brought her peace, love, simplicity, and presence. Her days are slower now, but not empty. She wakes with gratitude, meditates in silence, and walks through her garden as if each flower were a poem written just for her. Goldie has learned that true fulfillment doesn't come from being seen by millions, but from being known by a few, deeply and truly. And through it all, through decades of change, triumphs, and trials, Goldie has never walked entirely alone. Her life partner, actor Kurt Russell, has stood beside her for over 4 decades. Their love story defied Hollywood odds and bloomed without the need for wedding rings. In a world so quick to unravel, theirs remains a steady, grounding presence. Together, they raised a blended family, built a life of quiet strength, and proved that true partnership isn't declared on paper, it's lived in moments, ordinary, faithful, enduring. Goldie still works with Mind Up, now a global force in children's mental wellness. Under her leadership, the program has reached over 7 million children worldwide, helping them breathe through anxiety, focus their minds, and believe in their own self-worth. For Goldie, this impact far outweighs any box office number. What makes her legacy remarkable isn't just her body of work, but the spirit behind it. She has lived with laughter, yes, but also with conviction, courage, and an unwavering belief that joy is not something you stumble into. It's something you cultivate, through pain, through choice, through resilience. Her influence stretches far beyond screens and classrooms. To fellow artists, she stands as a symbol of reinvention and integrity. To women, she proves that beauty does not expire, and that a voice once silenced by ageism can still echo with power. And to everyday people, especially those quietly fighting their own invisible battles, Goldie Hawn represents hope wrapped in grace. She may no longer headline blockbusters or dominate tabloids, but make no mistake, her light hasn't dimmed. It has simply turned inward, shining where it matters most. Goldie Hawn's story is no longer one of fame, but of purpose, not of applause, but of impact. And in that quiet, extraordinary legacy, she continues to shine. You're no fun anymore, Danny boy. When old age quietly arrives, it rarely announces itself with thunder. It comes gently, through slower steps, longer silences, and the quiet fading of light, once so vibrant. And now, in a moment that has shaken the hearts of many, the world receives devastating news about Goldie Hawn. A woman whose laughter once echoed through theaters, whose joy once danced across silver screens, now lives in a world marked by vision loss, fragile health, and the profound stillness that only time and age can bring. How unbearably cruel it feels that someone who gave so much light to the world must now navigate her days surrounded by shadows. It is heartbreaking beyond words to watch the icon of joy quietly disappear into silence. But in this sorrow, there is also reverence. Goldie Hawn's life has been a testament to grace under fire, strength in vulnerability, and beauty that goes far beyond the surface. Though she may no longer stand in the spotlight, her spirit, gentle, fierce, and luminously human, continues to shine through every soul she's touched. If you've ever cried or laughed with the roles of Goldie Hawn, if her performances brought back memories as vivid as yesterday, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Let each video from Celebs Rewind be a journey back through time, a gentle reminder of the stars who shaped our hearts and the echoes they've left behind.